Hi, this is Chip Hardwick. I'm the interim executive of the Synod of the Covenant, and I am here to celebrate one of our grant winners from back in 2020. I'm with Ginny Anandalo, and Ginny, I am so glad to talk to you. And I wonder first if you could just tell me what church you're from.
I'm from the First Presbyterian Church in Warren, Ohio.
And do you know what presbytery that's in, Ginny?
Yes, it's Eastminster Presbytery.
All right, Eastminster Presbytery. And you received a grant back in 2020. So tell us what that grant was for.
The grant was originally asked for because a group of us at our church had formed an ad hoc committee called the Voices of Micah, based on Micah 6:8, asking, what does God require of you? And we've followed that as our mantra, as our committee, and it was put together particularly because in light of the shooting of Ahmaud Arbery, the George Floyd murder, you can call it, and we were very concerned as Christians how we could remain silent, especially a church that was predominantly white. And so we applied for a grant that was called Is Mercy Only for the Privileged? Raising up and reaching out to all God's children. And our concern was to find a way in which we had funding to educate the people in our own community about what was going on in the world and where we fit into that. And then also, what do we do after we've realized we might be somehow not aware of it or contributing to this social unrest. And the basis of the grant was to provide a book study on the book Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson. It has since been made into a movie, but to really look at the inequities in representation through, when you get arrested, why you get arrested, and then how you are treated, whether you are a white person or a person of color, and what are the resources or the lack of resources that affect you in that process. But we also used the money to provide the books for it. We had a facilitator come in, Reverend Dr. John Welch from Pittsburgh area, and he outlined the questions for the virtual book study. The book study included, I think we had 30 participants, so we had 2 groups of 15, and we met all on the same day, but at different times. And Dr. Welch would facilitate the same set of questions. And that was the basis for the cost, was for the facilitation, the books, and then we had a wrap up at the end that we were allowed to have in person, where we watched the movie and asked other people from the community to come in and discuss with us.
All right. So that leads to the second question. I had asked you before we got on about the difference it has made in your church, but I wonder also if you can trace yet any difference in the community too.
Well, I think both. It has definitely made a difference in our church, because what we found out is that we were not the only ones feeling frustrated with where do Christians fit in to what is going on as far as racism and social injustice. So I think it really helped people that were also struggling in our congregation have a group to link into, to really discuss deeply their conflicted feelings about what was going on. And the pandemic was a perfect time because we just had a lot of time to think. Not a lot of us were going out and about. So it was also a way for us to continue to build relationships, learn about people in our church, and establish a core group of people, 30 of us, which we're a church of maybe 100. I mean, we have more on the books, but maybe 150 active members. And so, that's a pretty good percentage to start out with and build a base so that we all kind of felt we were defining what was going on in the same way or with the same terms. As far as reaching out into the community, it has enabled us to say, come join us. Because we've also, the second part of our grant was reaching out through our Trumbull County Historical Society, has a Black Voices oral project. And so we also use some of that funding to bring them in for what our project was the school to prison pipeline. And what it did was showcase voices in our area, the Warren community, that had witnessed that or had lived with that, Black voices. And then we had people that came in from Freed Indeed Ministry, which is a local program that helps people that are incarcerated transition back into society. And so it just has opened all kinds of doors as a beginning platform for us to reach out and build relationships.
Yeah, thank you. And what do you think are the next steps for your church and kind of keep going in the same trajectory that the grant allowed you to start on?
Well, we've had a member on our committee who is really feels now that her calling is with prison ministry, which,
Wow.
just mercy. And our
Wow.
original grant was to try to reach out also to, we have a county jail that is really just right in our backyard. And some of the committee members have decided that they would like to figure out how can we help support the Freed Indeed Ministry, which is what I mentioned before. And then at our church level, how can we help prepare those people that are being released just from the county jail that need some way to get back to their family, might not have the appropriate clothing for the weather. If they've gotten, maybe they were incarcerated in the summer, they're getting out. One guy got out in the middle of, this 15 inches of snow we had. So we're just really starting to see how the theory of what we learned in the Just Mercy book study can be put in real practical application, and that it doesn't really necessarily take a bunch of money. It takes a willingness.
Right.
It takes the willingness and an awareness of your congregation to realize that it doesn't have to be something grandiose, but how are we treating those brothers and sisters in faith that are a little different than us? Are we extending Christian fellowship and support? So I feel very energized. I think it really gave us the initiative to complete an actual structured study, but then to be the platform for us to continue our action.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny, so much for telling us the story. It feels to me listening, it's like the story of the mustard seed, which is so small, but which sprouts and then grows and grows and grows. And the Synod is so happy to give grants like these. We're happy to support your church, First Pres of Warren, Ohio. And for those of you watching who would like to apply for a grant for next year, apply. So Jenny says apply, Chip says apply. So come and apply. The applications will be up early in the summer and they'll be due in late fall. So you'll have a chance, you'll have plenty of time. You can subscribe to our Synod newsletter at www.synodofthecovenant.org/subscribe. And that way you'll be sure to hear about the applications as soon as they are available. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you.